So, I mean, you've been on the road, you started Resistance, you've run, all sorts of tournaments and all that stuff. Kind of fast forward to, I mean, what was it? Just over a year ago that Paul like officially bought the property, right? That you
Yeah,
guys
it's
talked
probably
about.
about a year ago to like right about now.
Yeah.
They bought that property.
And all
They
of a
kind of
sudden it's
knew.
like, and it needs to be redone, or yeah, I don't know, I imagine they have to do some work. And you guys are doing the inaugural one. So take us through how Paul kind of asked you to be a part of that, and then kind of what the last year has been like, even just getting to this point.
Yeah, so I last year ran the Cascade Challenge. That was my second time running a disc golf pro tour event, and I
It's
had
great. I
had
watched it.
good
It's beautiful.
hopes. I'd love to hear it. I'm passionate about that event and that community. That community up there in Sheldon, Washington is phenomenal.
Yeah.
They're so cool. They went like I never go in with the expectations that anyone volunteering their time is going to, do anything. If you're there and you want to help, like that's awesome. Those guys were insane. Like
Yeah.
I always try to tell them, like, I don't want to ask more of you, but like, what do you think of this idea? And they're like, that's no problem. We'll go do that right now. Like
They're like ripping their shirts off and running into the woods, and you're like, what?
for real. Like we did a walk through like briefly, like the Sunday before the event with the assistant director of the Pro Tour, Phil Delone, and he was like, "Hey, here's some ideas for like future years. Maybe we can like carve out some of these areas of woods and create better spectating." And they're like, "Oh, okay, that's cool." I show up to the course like the next morning, and they're like, "Hey, come look at the spectator areas that we just made yesterday, like per Phil's recommendation." And I was like, "What? Like, okay, like go out there." And I'm like, dude, you guys like mowed down half a forest, like, but this is perfect. Like, this is what they wanted. And like Phil shows up to the course and his mind's blown. Like those guys were insane.
Yeah. So yeah, so
So
you run the Cascade.
got into yeah, and then the Pro Tour had some plans. I would say to they wanted to continue to push to have an Elite Series event in Washington. I'm not really entirely sure where that direction changed in the off season this year.
Yeah.
There's a
West
lot of
Coast is
moving
definitely
pieces
not
with the
getting a
Pro
lot of love
Tour.
this year. Yeah.
Amen to that for sure.
Yeah.
So I was a little disappointed. Kind of had some insight that that was going to happen. Had talked to like tour director Jeff Spring and then also some other people on the pro tour, and they were kind of like, "Yeah, I don't really know what I was kind of like beating around the bush a little bit, but I'm like, hey, I'm planning on running this event. Like, let's coordinate it in the tour swing. Like, we'll figure it out. Blah blah blah, whatever." I had talked to Paul about it, and obviously I told him, I'm frustrated about this. Like, this is happening. But he said, well, I think I might have another opportunity that we can talk about. And he presented the idea of basically, he's like, hey, like originally we were looking at doing this in like April, I think, with the Pro Tour, but now some shuffling around with Champions Cup and when that's going to be. He's like, now they want us to kick the tour off in on the East Coast and in Florida. So he's like, you want to run a disc golf Pro Tour event? And I was like, sure. What are the dates? He tells me the dates. I'm like, awesome. 21 weeks from now. Like that's a little.
Yeah. So when this was the middle of the summer, I'm guessing, probably.
Oh no, this is like November
Oh,
that he
November
told me
20.
this
Yeah.
probably.
Oh
Yeah,
my
this is like
god.
last November.
Okay.
So initially I was kind of like maybe October at like the latest,
Yeah,
but
21 weeks. It's got to be somewhere. Yeah, 4 or 5 months ish, right?
yeah,
So
it was like 21 weeks to the event day. So I was kind of just like, all right, like this is stressful because, but in 2021, we filled in with a disc golf pro tour event still during like COVID time when the Beaver State Fling was canceled. We popped up an event and ran a disc golf pro tour silver series on 8 weeks notice.
yeah,
So we felt like we had a game plan. We had been through this before. We obviously like it was great to have 8 months to plan an event with Cascade Challenge that we'd kind of gotten this down to a science, have a reliable staff that we were working with, that we should be able to just transfer this blueprint down to Florida and get everything done down there. So
yeah, that's awesome. I mean, and how's the property looking down there? Have you had a chance to go out there at all yet?
I've been out there twice during this off season, once in December, once in the very beginning of January. And I mean, the property's sick. I'd never been out there before those two visits. The elevation's crazy. Like the camera does not do it justice of what some of these hills look like. So I think that's going to be like fun for people to just see the disc fly, especially in person. There's gonna be a lot of times where it's like the disc is going to be in the air for like 3 to 4 seconds longer than like a normal shot would be because it's just it's off the top of a cliff now. So that's fun. We carved out. I say we. I mean Paul McBeth designed, and then the crew that has been helping Dylan Seaside at Cactus Rock, the Williams brothers. Those guys, another group of phenomenal human beings and great disc golf ambassadors. Those guys did some insane stuff. Moved earth, cut down trees, cleared fairways, built some stuff that I didn't even know was possible in a
So
week.
it's going to look a little different than what we've seen on coverage before, for sure.
Yeah, so there's two brand new holes that are completely from scratch, brand new. Um, and they're both pretty epic. Like they're both like kind of a similar style of like they tee off from like a cliff, like there's a valley of some kind or like a clearing in front of it, and then it goes back up onto another cliff. So like just like the terrain out there is crazy.
Yeah.
Like it's not like I feel like a lot of traditional disc golf courses, you're like you throw off a hill or something and then you walk down a hill. This is literally like you throw and then 20 feet in front of the tee pad, if that, it's straight like face drops down 30 plus feet
So
sometimes.
you got to go all the way around and figure out how to get
Yeah,
down
there's
there. And
like, and that's some of the things that they did out on the course is the like the walkouts that they carved. Like we have one new hole where we took this like pretty epic, I think it might have been a par four previously, but it's now going to definitely be a par five, where we brought it up onto a cliff that's like about a 40-foot cliff. And the landing zone is probably at least like 450 plus off the tee of where you'd like to land the disc. But we, again, when I say we, they carved a switchback trail up the side of a cliff because that's all that there was here was like a cliff, carved a switchback, and then went through the woods like 200 feet to get to this tee pad location.
that's wild. That's wild.
Like they were doing stuff on skid steers that I was just like sitting there watching. And I'm like, nope, I don't want to be around here. Like this is wild.
It's that hard
But
hat area all of a sudden.
absolutely, we've got some great like video clips of them working. Our guys having fun while like being involved.
Oh yeah, is there a
But
social media that we can direct people there to see like how things are going there, or like what are
yeah,
you?
I think it's just Olympus DGC on Instagram.
Okay, well we'll make sure we get that information that it's in the notes and everything like that. So
Yeah, just Olympus DGC on Instagram. They've posted a lot of cool clips and stuff of like throughout the construction process and some of the stuff they've done.
that's awesome.
Um, while we were there, we like the parking lot's not completely finished in aspect of paving. It's still getting some stuff done there, but they like dropped road base for like a 40,000 square foot parking lot area. So we should be able to have like 80 to 90 cars on site for the event. They just got a shed out there with like a pro shop, basically. Like a lot of things are coming together, and then there are
Camping
long
for the
term plans
pros
for
and all
that
that stuff.
property. No camping on site. There's not really enough property to do that. We have a
Okay.
local guy who's a disc golfer. He's about a mile and a half down the road, who's serving as our spectator parking lot. He's got a little 18 hole like small course on his property that he wants to host camping out there. So it's awesome that there's like people in the community that down there as well.
Oh yeah, that's great. The secondary economy. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, but
How do
it's
you,
no go
sorry,
ahead.
Jeff, how do you like how are you managing all these people? And like is this already in motion as you're then being asked to head as TD? And you're just kind of like picking up with the circus that is this tournament that's already in motion.
Not really. It was kind of all built from scratch to an extent of the aspect of like I assembled like the team that we put together for the event. Some of those people already have previous experience, like three guys that are all part of the Paul McBeth Foundation team. They're all down in Florida. They are heading up like all of our volunteer coordinating. So those guys have been just all over that. It was kind of something that they had past experience. They've worked with Nate Heinold at Ledgestone and Deglow, with his events and also on like some other major tournaments. But it was kind of like I could just be like, hey, like this is what we want to do. And then they were like, cool, we know what to do. We'll take it from here. And that was like a huge, item I could just pass off my list.
And it's
And
the kind of
then,
thing you got to do on the ground, anyways, right? It's hard to do that from Oregon, like
yeah,
supporting the volunteers
absolutely.
and making sure that like that you're getting them the right thing and whatever the custom is for the payout, payouts or swag or whatever. You're like, okay, what do these guys need? You guys figure that out for us, right?
Yeah, and we like put together I think what's a pretty awesome like volunteer plan. Like any day that like volunteers are there, they're gonna get a shirt, they'll get lunch paid for, and then we broke it down into shifts. And every shift that they work, they'll get progressively like better and better, cooler discs that like Discraft is providing for the event.
That's awesome.
So it'll get to like start
That's
off on like
awesome.
some just cool event discs that are like limited edition discs, all the way up to like some LE Paul McBeth releases that we have planned for the week and stuff like that that they'll get access to for helping us.
That's
So
awesome.
that's like that was super fun to like develop that with them. We hadn't really done anything quite like the disc payment kind of stuff or like offering merchandise for their time thing for Cascade Challenge. So it was cool to like work with them. They're like, yeah, this is kind of what Nate does at Ledgestone. What do you think here? And I was like, oh yeah, like we've got some product we can divvy up in these certain ways. Like let's get people set up with some cool stuff. So they were like, oh, awesome, perfect. Like I'm glad that we've already got like stuff in place for this. So like that was one thing. And then like I've got a good like core group that we run tournaments with here in Oregon. So my assistant TD, his name's Nick Walter. He was my assistant TD at Cascade Challenge. He's the man. He's like a guy on our me and Scott Weathers crew when it comes to running tournaments. So Nick was just like, yep, I'll take the time off of work. Like if you can just get me out there, you got like your assistant TD and scoring director will get all that taken care of. It's like that was easy. And then we had like other guys in our crew who were like, dude, I'm supposed to take time off of work. Like, you know, how do I get out to Florida? I'm like, easy, perfect. We'll bring more people. Like we got an Airbnb down there with like 5 people in it right now that we got a local, like, you know, the regional crew from here coming out there to do some work. So
nice. So are they already out there?
they are not. I will get out there next Monday.
Okay.
We're recording this on like January 31st, but
and this will come out right after you're probably getting there. Yeah.
Yeah, so February 5th, I'll be on site starting to work on stuff. Olympus has just had their grand opening. I've been talking on the phone to Nick Carl, like the course manager, every day. He's been giving me updates on all the things that we're working on out there, trying to get ready for the event. But I'll get on site, got a lot of planning still to do. But everything's like just rolling in a really good way, and I feel super great about it. At first, I was like, taking the jump from like a Silver Series event to an Elite Series event is a good jump, but I feel like we put a great team together, and everyone's like ready to do things.
Yeah, I mean, and when you've got a course that's kind of being built for it right now, and like all these things are kind of coming together to really try to make it a success, like that's really, I mean, it sounds like you are just getting so much help from everyone. And I mean, as a tournament director, you know, all of us have run events, not at that scale for me, but like you really, when you get that symphony going of everybody really, you know, doing their core competencies and hitting what they need to do, it's pretty awesome that you're like, oh my God, this is actually maybe it'll be fun. Like maybe it won't be anxiety ridden and crazy, right?
Yeah, like I normally it's like just a lot of you just thinking of everything that's going wrong, but it's like if you do everything like if you prep and plan everything ahead of time and get like all these boxes checked, like I said, the working doc, it's a wonderful piece of tool from the Pro Tour. Everything that is going to be, and again, it also this includes like if I have a staff that like is, you know, able to carry weight and do what they need to do, come tournament time, like me and like a couple other people, all we'll have to do is just what we just call damage control, where it's like, you know, maybe something pops up on the course where like, oh, we need to go fix this and like, you know, solve a situation, or like this happens, go do that. It becomes super minimal. That like I remember the first time that I did this, I was literally like sitting in like the RV trailer that we had on site, and I'm just like sitting there, and I'm just like, should I be doing something?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
you're like this.
This Pro Tour event. Should I be doing something? And I'm like, I just like keep walking around to people and ask like, hey, do you guys need help? You guys good? Like everything good? They're like, oh yeah, we got everything handled.
Just driving the golf cart around, like going like, come on, who needs some help?
Like
right?
legitimately. And it's just like everyone's like, no, yeah, we're good. We got everything done. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, if you need anything, like give me a call and then just move on to the next group of people. But yeah, so
what are you looking forward to, and what are you kind of like not scared but most anxious or don't want, you're like, oh God, I got to deal with this, like once you get on the ground, like, you know, it's the clock starts running, but like there's some real excitement and fun there, but also there's like, oh, I gotta go deal with this thing, or it's the thing that I need to make sure I nail perfectly that's keeping me up at night.
I think the thing that always like stresses, at least in like experience of going like into this the third time, the thing that always stresses me out like is volunteers in a way, because you know they're volunteers, they're not paid to be there, like they're not getting paid cash, like they're you know volunteering their time. So it's always a chance that the person's like, oh sorry, like didn't really feel like it, the weather looked crappy, I'm not going to come out today, or they were just like, oh got stuck in traffic and like, you know, or they were just like, oh I actually want to spectate today, so I just bought a general admission pass and then went spectating. And you're just like, dude, like you're killing me, like I didn't know I didn't have a spotter on hole 4 for like, you know, 2 hours already, like. So that's the thing that always like is, it's like it's out of your control to an extent, but it's like it's, you never know that like a volunteer or someone's missing until they are.
I'm glad to know that anxiety doesn't go anywhere until anywhere ever, because like, I mean, you know, you're literally going to fit in perfectly with the sort of the mantra of our podcast, which is like volunteers needed. Like, come on, because we're always running a bunch of shit, you know, between East Bay and Oyster Bay and the Bay Area in general. It's just like, get out there and do stuff. And you see the same 15 people, 20 people, and you're like, no, we know there's more people that are more engaged, right? So
100%.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Okay. No, keep going, Jeff.
Okay. So one of the coolest things about this event, not only is it the first event that kicks off the entire season, but also maybe the possibly one of the biggest sponsors backing it. Like this isn't just the Ledgestone Open, which is has all this like hoopla because of what the tournament is. But you have like chess.com that is a multi million dollar company that is a game that is putting probably backing it with some real cash, and there is a expected like very good fan zone. Can you speak at all about what is expected to be there?
Yeah, so I at first like Paul, one of the things I also appreciate about Paul is Paul like is when I say he's like a visionary, like I literally think of him as like a Steve Jobs like visionary kind of person, where like he comes up with ideas and things that you're just like no one's thinking about that. And I mean, obviously, with this event, he was like, I want to pull in like a huge outside the sports sponsor, and I'm like, I mean, literally, even Nate Heinold like had to like talk him down of like, hey, like, don't put a bunch of pressure on Korns to do this. Like, that's huge. He's like, I've been developing his relationship with Merrill Shoes that he's had. He said that's been a 7-year project for him to get it to where it is today. To like get it putting shoes in every player's pack. Like some of those like having Bush now, like that's a fortunate one that they are also like basically a company in the sport, even though they are nationally recognized outside the sport. um, he was like, "Don't put a bunch of pressure on Corns to get a big sponsor." He's like, "You go find a big sponsor if that's what you're gonna do." He's like, "I know Jeff's gonna be able to put everything together inside the sport. Let him handle that. You go find the big fish, Paul." So it was kind of like a like crazy thing. Paul's not a like I say he's not a chess guy. He's now like kind of a chess guy and he understands like chess. But at first he was like, I don't really know much about chess. Like he's like, I know what the pieces are called and I don't really know how some of them move. But now it's gotten to the point where he's learned a lot more about it. But originally, the CEO of chess.com is a disc golfer and a huge Paul McBeth fan. He reached out to Paul over the offseason, basically was like, hey, like we want to sponsor you, start do a deal, something like that. What kind of partnership can we start? And Paul, like, he admittedly said, I don't know much about chess, but I have this event that I'm running. If you want to support something, I would rather you put that energy towards a disc golf event. And I think we can maybe bring more crossover between the two sports into that event than just me promoting chess.com. And their CEO was like ecstatic about that, jumped on it, was super excited. So
That's great.
we got some cool things in the works. Like there's going to be some high profile chess people. I can't like say names yet. We're still like we have like an official announcement that we're planning to like boost some ticket sales and kind of get some things
Sure.
rolling, but we'll like high profile chess celebrity that's going to be on site as well as some other like chess grandmasters. So chess.com is also sending out like a 10-15 person staff.
Wow.
They're like staffing
Whoa.
like this chess zone. So they want to have like disc golf pro tour players playing like chess players, playing fans. They do a bunch of live streaming on their platform, which I think is really cool. Like they'll just have people like literally basically on a phone streaming chess matches that you can go watch on like the chess.com app. So they want to do stuff like that from the course, cross promote on their platform of what disc golf is and what's going on at the event.
Are there
They're
any
doing a lot of really cool
are
stuff.
there any chess players in this golf?
There are some like really good players, and it's kind of like funny that it's coincidentally a lot of discraft players. I think like so from what I've heard, Holland Hanley might be like one of the best chess players like on the disc golf pro tour. I'm not super like knowledgeable with like the chess rating system,
Yeah,
but I've heard her like chess rating is like over 1700, I think, which
that's
is
very
like
good. That's very good.
yeah. So apparently she's like really good at chess. Aaron Gossage I've heard is also very good. Andrew Fish is
Wow.
a chess player. And then also like the assistant tour director, Phil Delone, he's a like big chess fan. And when he heard about this, he was like, I play chess.com every day. Like, what the
That's
heck?
so
This is
exciting.
crazy.
That seems
Yeah.
like great for some great crossover, and it sounds like you guys some amazing things set up. I mean, it sounds like a convergence of a lot of really great things. I mean, obviously Paul McBeth and his new property, all the work you guys are doing there, you and your expertise and just bringing this playbook, working with the DGPT, and then chess.com, and really kind of reaching out to Paul and it sort of landing in your lap to put this all together. Are you guys looking like you guys looking at a good prize purse and you're getting very excited about like the financials and how it's all working out now with having such a big name sponsor?
Yeah. Right now, I know we're going to have at least 50K added cash which is pretty solid.
That's great.
Obviously, like there's some events like Ledgestone's massive. They do an insane amount, and then like some of the other DGPT playoff events are huge. But
You didn't want to run
we're
25 AM tournaments?
no too many. But some of the stuff, like I don't think people realize like how much Nate Heinold does during that week of Ledgestone and like everything that's going on. Like 2,200 players are playing the non-disc golf pro tour side of the event.
I know, it's crazy.
Like that fills up like 12
Whoa.
to 13 courses, which
It's
also like then
down
put
to
into
pool Z or whatever, you know. It's like,
yeah, but like then you put
Whoa.
into perspective of like, whoa, wait, there's 13 like 18 whole courses in this like hour driving distance radius that like people can go play all of these properties.
yeah,
Like Peoria, Illinois, like when people talk about like disc golf, like metro, like crazy areas,
yeah,
like Peoria, Illinois is getting absolutely slept on for like where, like,
yeah.
you know, for how much disc golf there is there.
Yeah, it's like, I mean,
'Cause there's-
Austin's great and you know, and Charlotte's great, but it's like that's got to
Yeah,
be
no,
insane.
those two cities, both incredible disc golf cities, but like no one ever just talks about like Peoria, Illinois, like what's like, it probably does get on some lists somewhere, but it's like, how many places? I mean, I don't even think in the Bay Area there's,
Oh,
you know,
no,
you
no.
can take anywhere. I can't, and where I'm at in Oregon, I don't think if you go even up to like Portland, Oregon, if you pick a spot, like you're going to hit like 13, 18 hole courses.
That
Like
you
that's
you could
huge.
run tournaments on concurrently.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
But I mean, I'm really glad to hear that you guys are really being able to bring in the good sponsorships, do added cash. You know, it sounds like you guys are doing great by the volunteers, and you guys have so much support in what's going on in the course. I mean, you know, I'm really excited. I mean, obviously, everybody's excited about seeing disc golf come back and seeing what's going to happen. And so, like, it'll be really awesome to see something really fresh on the pro tour right away. You know, so obviously we can talk a lot more about what's happening with the West Coast, but we can say that for another podcast after you get done with the opening on the East Coast. Then we'll get you back on and talk about what's happening on the West Coast.
Down.
For sure. Jeff, do you have to run anything a part of the All-Star event that happens the week prior? Because it's on the same course.
Kind of. So
Yeah.
Paul brought to me originally, like, he's like, hey, I think we're looking to move All-Star weekend to the property as well the weekend before. And I was like, oh boy, like that means we're gonna have I'm gonna have more work to do because like
it's got to be tournament ready a week earlier.
Yes, that for one, which like everything got really stalled that when they went through their lawsuit. Like the plans, I know that they've talked about it online. They're like they want to build a country club experience at that property eventually. Like they have a clubhouse that they have designs for that they're working on, and that place is going to be pretty epic. Come like fruition of everything. Sure. They are this clubhouse might have been done right now before the disc golf pro tour event if things didn't get delayed last year. Obviously it's like we just stuck through everything or keep pushing forward on the course, but I can't wait to I think we're starting in like a huge spot, and I like absolutely think that it is doable to come back year 2 and go so much farther and to present like such a better experience even year 2. So that's the awesome. Pro Tour seems invested in starting here and this being a potential future spot. So I think we'll see more, but when it comes to the All-Star weekend, I knew that it was going to happen, that I was going to get roped into more things. I prepared for it. I didn't necessarily want it, but like always it's fun to do. So it's like, I get pleasure out of it. That's going to be a fun weekend as well. Yeah. We got some cool things on the course planned for that as well.